Deftones, Be Quiet and Drive, acoustic version from the B-Sides and Rarities album, guitar tabs and guitar lesson. Okay, so interestingly enough, this is just going to be in a straight up drop D tuning, not using the drop D flat C sharp from the recorded album or anything like that, just a straight up drop D, so that's nice. So we'll have our, starting from the low to high here, we got D, A, D, G, B, E. So just got to take that low E, drop it down a whole step to a D, and we'll be all set. And a lot of just different strumming dynamics going on here. Only really a handful of chords. But this initial verse that comes in, just two single strums. And the initial one will be at the 9th fret on the D, A, D. And we'll add the 11G and 12B. It's just a nice smooth strum through it. Alright, hold that for the couple measures. Now we just lift off the 9s to just hit the open D5. So open low D, A, and middle D there. And we just alternate between those two chords for this initial section. And I guess the second part of the intro here, we're just cycling between those two chords again, mainly just sticking now with the 9s on the DAD for the B5 there, and we hit that, and now we're going to kind of do this cool little arpeggio here, where we hit our 9s, kind of hold it, and the next measure we'll pick from the G string, the 11G, then we'll do an open B, so you got to kind of arch a little bit so that you're not hanging on, touching these strings here. But we're holding those 9s, and then we pick the 11G, open B, open E, back to the open B, 11G. Alright, and then we just lift off for our open D there. Alright, hold that for the measure, and the next measure we do an upward arpeggiation here where we go open high E, then we'll do a 10B to that 11G. And we just bounce between those two patterns. For the second verse, just kind of a slight difference here where we're doing our same single strum of the 9s with the 11G, 12B, holding it for a couple measures, lift off to the D5, opens there, and we'll go through that just as usual, a time, and then we'll do it again, but once we get to that final open D there, like every other time, or at least that second time we go through it, we cap it off by doing that upward arpeggio from the previous section, the open E, 10B, 11G. Alright, first chorus comes in, and we have a new strumming dynamic. We shift over now, and we're just going to hit this A power chord at the 7s on the DAD. Alright, and with this, it's kind of like a strum, strum, and just before the measure's out, hit 1 into this shuffling strum of 4. Da 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 da. Kind of hesitate a little bit. 1, 2, 3. Alright, and then essentially from there, we just lift off to the open D and just strum that the same way. And for the third verse, now we just kind of adopt that strumming pattern from the chorus we just came off of, but we're back at our 9s, all right, and we're just kind of worrying about the low 9s here on the DAD, but we're strumming it like we did in the chorus, and then, through the 9s, lift off through the Ds, and then, of course, we're going to add that previous verse element where we'll go through the progression once, do it about, 3/4 of again, but that final measure of that D, we just throw in that upward arpeggio. The second chorus, we get a new dynamic from the previous chorus, where instead of doing our shuffling strums there, we just shift down to single strums, and we add in this extra little note. It's nothing too crazy, but we'll do our single strum of the 7s, but we're going to add the 9 on the G with it, just for that extra octave there in the A5. Okay. And then from there, we just lift off to the D, open Ds there, and we keep that 9 on the G with it. So it makes it like a D sus2. Okay, just a subtle little thing in there. But that's basically it. We just do the single strums with the 9 on the G added. For the outro, we do kind of that shuffling strum dynamic at our 9s, all right, to opens. And it's a little tricky it gets a little buried to hear initially, but as everything fades out, we can kind of hear it a little more. Where we have these added high notes in with it, where it's, I guess it makes it like a B7-ish kind of chord, but basically we're doing our 9s, and we're kind of adding some of the notes from like those arpeggiated scales, all right? So we're adding the 11G and the 10B. All right, it's like I said, it's tricky to hear until everything starts fading out, and then you can hear it a little clearer. But it's just those notes added with the 9s in that shuffling strum pattern. And, we'll lift off to our opens, and we just keep those 11 and 10 on the B and G with it. And just continue with that all the way through the end of the song.